So the city has various tools, and I don't know how often they're used. Again, this is one area where I think a lot of transparency is needed. We have a lot of data in City Hall. We never expose it to our residents, and I would move to have many more transparency measures put in place. I want to know where most frequently we have housing code violations, where we have blight, where we have vacant properties, who those landlords are, and start taking them to court. Because by them having vacant and abandoned properties, they are having a negative effect on our economy as a city. Look at downtown. We have some buildings that are boarded up, some buildings that have paintings on the first floor displayed in nice lights, but the entire shell of the building is empty. The wiring is probably not up to code. And we need to start holding people accountable to having those spaces available, or even taking them and having the city either redevelop or sell them to a developer that wants to do something positive with that property. If you go to our downtown, and this is one instance where I would specifically focus on downtown because of the concentration of blight. If you go to our downtown and you want to have a Friday afternoon date, can you? No. You can't take your kids to downtown because there's nothing for them to do aside from coming to the library, which, by the way, is a wonderful benefit to our community. But if there's nowhere to go out to eat with them nearby, if there's nowhere to go shopping with them nearby, how are we ever going to jumpstart our economy? I would also try to expand programs that help folks who are seniors or disabled or disenfranchised who can't keep up with their home, so that they're not affected by these violations and by these zoning issues or by these code issues. And if you know their paint is chipping, there have to be some public dollars available to help fix that property up a little bit, so that we're not burdening someone who's elderly, living on Social Security, and can't afford to fix their home.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Bobby, you're up.
Well, it begins, number one, from what I understand, that one of the property owners that has a big problem not taking care of their properties actually sits on the city council. I'm not going to mention any names, but...
Speak up a little louder, some of the people in the back can't
oh, I'm
hear you.
sorry if I was wrong. So I also think a part of the problem is as far as enforcing, because I do believe we have enough laws on the books to take care of that. But the people who are enforcing these laws or whatever, again, it comes down to who you know. You can be excused, but no, you have to pay. And so, look, again, it all starts, we gotta start from scratch. We gotta get back to where's the money. Every time you ask for money to beautify something, they say, well, we don't have the money. But let's give ourselves a raise this year, as the city council did last year. Again, transparency, I agree with you. We totally need so much more transparency. You know, they give themselves raises, they hire another assistant, but they don't have money to put a swing in for kids that are confined to wheelchairs. You know, again, if you keep hiring these people, it's never going to change. We've got the resources. We have the history in this city. This can be one of the most desirable cities in the nation. Every city in the country uses that resource of a river, and they build on that. We need to line that with shops, pubs, like you said, for people so people want to come here. You need good public schools. That's what brings in jobs and families. That's what they look for. How is the education? How are the public schools? What is there to do in this city? Okay, how clean is it? But, you know, past administrations, I'm going to blame them. Look at our city. It deteriorated. We need to change them. You just need to vote new people in, whether it's me, whether it's Emmanuel, you need to get rid of the old administration, or it's not going to change.
Thanks, Rodney. Melissa, you have the floor now.
The question is again, sorry.
That's okay. What would you do to beautify? That's okay. What would you do to beautify the city and hold absentee landlords accountable for vacancy and blight?
Okay, so I would just tell you guys a story with one in particular home that we have in Pawtucket in Mineral Spring Ave, which has been abandoned for since I was sitting in the back seat in a booster chair. And there's been a man who has been homeless, who has been outside of that home since then. And about 2 years ago in my outreach, I was walking around and the people said, hey Melissa, this guy's in the house, it's really hot. Can you go back there and check on him? So I walked on this abandoned property. Sorry, I didn't know I was breaking the law. And I went and I knocked on this wooden, window. I had to move the window, and it was the worst thing ever that I ever experienced in my life. I could not believe that this is where he lived, this is where he's been living for years, this is what the community, the city, the police officers, the fire department, everybody was bringing this guy food, clothes, dollars, doing everything that we can to try to help him, but our hands is tied when it comes to this property. So when so that you know that this man is now in a nursing home and doing very well. We were able to take him out of that house. But then I had to go figure out what's going on with this house. Who's the landlord? And so nobody in the city could figure it out, but I'm like an FBI agent. So I found everything out. And I found out that this landlord got an office on a 60-something floor in Manhattan, downtown Manhattan, hanging out. So I ended up
30
getting
seconds.
right to this woman and said, hey, listen, I don't know if you know, but while you're up on that top floor eating your hors d'oeuvres, there's rats eating this homeless man's feet and caused him to get his feet amputated, okay? So I can't tell you that I know how we're gonna take over every abandoned house, but I do
10
know
seconds.
how important it is, and that I will be part of that fight forever.
Jim, you're up.
The simple answer is we do have the ordinances on the books to prevent this. It's called tagging. We have to tag the properties. Now, you're asking specifically about absentee landlords going door to door, as I stated, the best part of this campaign in part. I found a single family home in the city on the Fairlawn side, and to piggyback a little bit what Ronnie said about having to know people, I have it a little bit on the reverse side. This gentleman lived next door to somebody, and he said, can you come in my backyard? I said, sure thing. Went into his backyard. It's a chain link fence, not a wooden fence. And this person's yard was up against almost to my thigh. And with the chain link fence, it was coming through. His whole backyard was weeded out. He said, I called the city. They tagged it once, they tagged it twice, they tagged it 3 times. Nothing was done. Finally, unfortunately, he had to make a phone call to someone that he knew in City Hall, which is not what should be done. And finally, a yellow tag or one of bright orange tags went on the $125 fine. He finally cut it. That was in early June. It is now late July. The yard is still disgusting. He called up again. This is one of the problems that we need. We need to have people that is accountable in their jobs. And if you guys elect me on the city council, if you are not getting the services done by the city, then you make sure to call. And I think all of us, I can actually speak for all 5 from hearing the words that are coming out of these people's mouths. If you call any of us, we will be responsive to you. It's about quality of life issues, and it's about people doing their job. The city of Pawtucket has the ability to find these people and get them going. I don't want to spend $125 to have have someone cut my lawn. So the first tag would have done it. So that's what I would say about blight in the city. We have to keep on top of it.
Thanks so much. Jeannie Lee?
I agree. We have to hold absentee landlords accountable for vacant buildings, abandoned buildings. Why would anyone come in and invest in a business right next to a few abandoned buildings where there's literally nothing? Why would anyone invest? Why would anyone want to come and start the change? As a city, we have to start either finding them and, again, using the laws that are on the books, find them every day until the problem is taken care of, or take them to court and take the property. When I moved into my house about a month ago, I had an issue with the home right next door that's going through some sort of a reverse mortgage foreclosure process. I contacted the city. I have yet to hear from them. They have not called me back. So again, that's also an issue where you shouldn't have to know someone in order to get a response from city personnel. So that's, again, another issue that we have to deal with in Pawtucket. Everyone should be available to every resident in Pawtucket. You shouldn't have to make 3 to 4 to 5 phone calls or to different departments in order to get what should be a regular solution. And in terms of addressing beautifying the city, we do need to see more investments. I'm glad that they are redoing Payne Park. But for how long have we not had Slater Park, which is a beautiful park, while knocking on doors? A woman, I'll never forget this. because this was early on, this was about a month ago. She said, I just want a safe park for my kid to play in. How many people take that for granted, a safe park? So this is where being a city council member or being, working for the city, the quality of life for residents matters. And doing your job, returning a phone call, tagging an abandoned building, taking people to court, all of that matters for the city as a whole.
Thank you, Jamie.